If someone would ask you who the main character of Ninjago was, what would your answer be? Some would say Kai, others would say that there is no single main character, and that that title applies to all of the ninja. There is, though, another answer, a probably correct answer, and that's Lloyd. You could argue that he's not, and that all of the ninja are main characters, and for the original 15th season show, that argument is valid, and I'd probably even agree with it. But in the modern era, in Dragon's Rising, Lloyd has definitely risen past the other 5 OG ninja, and has become the main character, at least when it comes to the OG 6 ninja. Either way, though, Lloyd is almost always either written really, really well and can be one of the best characters in the entire show, or he's apparently not that hard to get wrong and can be written absolutely terrible and be completely unlikable. In this video, I mainly want to focus on how he was handled from 2018 to 2022, taking a look at the back half of the original show and discussing what I like and dislike about him. The reason I'm going to be skimming over the first 7 seasons is because I honestly don't have much to say about him during those seasons. He's a fine character, not bad at all, but just not all that interesting to me. It's not until season 8 that he becomes a character that I'm really invested in and really like, so that's where we're going to start.
But your bedroom, it was ransacked.
Yes, I can be quite a slob. Thank you for noticing.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean...
I wish I remembered the first time I watched Sons of Garmadon. I wish I remembered my first reaction to all the crap Lloyd goes through the season, because it's a lot and it's brutal. We meet Ninjago's royal family, which has definitely been a thing for the past 7 seasons, trust me. And Lloyd falls in love with the princess, Princess Harumi. Here we go with another stupid love at first sight plot. At least this one's slightly more interesting, with the love interest being royalty and Harumi's parents not being directly tied into the main plot like Pixel's or Skylar's. So there could be some interesting dynamics between Lloyd, who is a ninja and whose life is almost constantly in danger, and the king and queen, who might not want their daughter dating someone who could put her in that position or something. This could be different and unique for the show. There's some potential here, and I'm actually kind of interested to see where they take things. Oh yeah, that ain't good. But this is Ninjago, I'm sure everyone is fine, at least the important name characters.
The Emperor and Empress? Where is Hutchins? Did they...
I'm sorry, Princess. They didn't make it.
Okay then! Seriously, how do I not remember my first reaction to this? How is my 8-year-old brain not freaking out or something? From there, Lloyd and Harumi bond more, and this seems like just a typical dumb Ninjago love story until they reach the Oni Temple, which contains the 3rd Oni mask. The last thing the Sons of Garmadon need to resurrect Garmadon, Lloyd's dad, from the dead. This is where the princess mask slips off. Harumi screws up and Lloyd puts together that she is the quiet one, the leader of the SOG. This twist is really good, a bit predictable, yes, but still good. My favorite part about it is just what it does to Lloyd. Of course, this completely breaks him, he's heartbroken, and worst of all, Harumi loves it. She's been playing him this entire time, and now that the act is over, she's just having fun with it. We all know how the season ends. Garmadon is resurrected, Lloyd loses his powers, and Kai, Jay, Cole, Zane, and Wu are sent to the first round, believed to be dead by the rest of the team. Going into Season 9, Lloyd is at his lowest, but slowly comes back as he learns that the rest of the ninja aren't actually dead, and with a lot of help from Mistake, who is an Oni who's been living as a human in Ninjago, he's able to defeat his dad and regain his powers. Not before a couple casualties though. Mistake sacrificed herself so that the others can get the upper hand for a little bit, which results in Harumi's death as well. The next season, Season 10, while not as direct of a follow-up as Season 9 was for 8, it focuses on Lloyd's relationship with Garmadon and highlights their differences, and Garmadon takes the first steps towards rediscovering his humanity. The season ends with Lloyd almost dying and meeting the first Ninjutsu master himself. I don't think that it was until my latest viewing of the season where the impact of the scene finally hit. Lloyd has been through hell the past few seasons, and now here he is on the brink of death, being offered a way out by God himself. He could choose to go with his grandfather, leaving his uncle, mother, and friends behind, but also leaving behind all the pain of Harumi, Garmadon, and everything else that has happened. It's not even clear if Lloyd knows what's happening and what making a decision will lead to. I like to think that he did start to go with his grandfather and was gone for a second, symbolized by this flower that drifts by, and that right here he is dead, but then he makes a last minute decision to stay, maybe realizing what's happening and what leaving means for everyone else. Just what a beautiful way to end this trilogy, and specifically Lloyd's journey throughout it. Much of the Oni isn't fantastic, but it has fantastic aspects to it, and this right here is a perfect example of that. These seasons are what I think made Lloyd an interesting and great character, and are arguably where his character peaked. But it's not actually over just yet.
So then, there's this huge stone colossus, and I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do? There's no spinjitzu move for this.
Season 11, Lloyd meets a wolf who he nicknames Red on his way to free Zane from the evil Ice Emperor. For some reason, he chooses to do this all by himself despite all the other ninja being fully available. At the very least, Kai should have gone with him. But there might actually be a reason for this. After the whole Harumi thing, Lloyd became very closed off and chooses who he trusts very carefully. And now, while of course the ninja are part of his trust circle, maybe he just wanted to be alone for this. Last time he went on an expedition in a dangerous environment with a partner, he got stabbed in the back. As well, with him being so closed off, he might be avoiding talking about everything that happened over the past few months. We know that he hasn't spoken to anyone about it because we see the first time he does right here with Red, and he says that it feels good to get it off his chest.
It's kind of nice to be able to get this off my chest, actually.
Red is the first person, or wolf, Lloyd has had who he feels like he can trust and confide in without any fear. So imagine his surprise when he discovers that Red isn't actually just a wolf, but a formling named Akita. Formlings are a species native to the Netherrealm and have the ability to morph into different animals. They were all wiped out by the Ice Emperor long ago, all except Akita, who is now on her way to get revenge for her people and her brother. She's been keeping her identity a secret from Lloyd because he's a stranger and didn't know if he could be trusted. In pretty much any other situation, I'm sure Lloyd would have been fairly understanding, taken aback and maybe a bit uncomfortable at first, but I don't think there would be much of any fighting. But because of how recent all the Harumi stuff was, and the fact that he felt comfortable enough around Red to share all of it with him, of course he's not happy because in his mind, this is everything he's been fearing would happen again. He's placed his trust in someone new only to be backstabbed once again. Is Akita completely innocent in all this? No, but it's not really her fault either. She's been isolated and only looking out for herself for years, and Lloyd is probably the first person she's had this much interaction with since her village got frozen over. Since she's only been focused on herself for so long, how Lloyd would react to her keeping her identity a secret probably never crossed her mind. During the rest of their journey to the Ice Palace, they forgive each other and Akita helps Lloyd to stop being so closed off and a bit more trusting, because while there are a lot of people like Harumi out there, there are also a lot of Mistakes and Akitas, people who you can and should trust. The season ends with Akita giving Lloyd a kiss right before he leaves, which you would probably assume I hate based on my earlier rant about Harumi's introduction and some of my previous videos, but no, I do actually like this and think it works really well.
Is that? Hello, Mint? Ah, the most refreshing mint of them all.
Lloyd made really good progress in Season 11, but unfortunately goes a step back in Season 12. While they're in the game Prime Empire, Lloyd at one point has to fight a digital recreation of Harumi the game dug out of his mind to progress to the final boss. This recreation is just as deceiving as the real version. She's able to get into his head and mess with him. He has a hard time fighting her. I assume probably because there is still a part of him that loves her, even though the Harumi he loved wasn't the real Harumi, and even though she did nothing but hurt him, he did love her at one point, and it's that part of him that we see here. I don't really understand that, but I think that's what's happening. Also, gotta keep in mind throughout this whole thing that while Lloyd looks as old as the rest of the ninja, mentally he's like 13 years old because of the whole being aged up thing back in Season 2. Just something to keep in mind. This digital version of Harumi isn't perfect though. She's got details about certain memories wrong, and that's what gets Lloyd to snap out of it and defeat her. This wasn't at all needed in this season, but I'm really glad it's here. This is the perfect way to bring this character back without actually bringing her back, because that would be 1, not possible since she's dead, and 2, even if you did somehow bring her back, you shouldn't, because that would be the worst idea ever, and the chances of the writers being able to justify bringing her back to life by properly doing her character justice and adding a meaningful addition to her story are very low. What they did here was perfect and a great final appearance for Harumi. Though I do think that what happened in Prime Empire had a negative effect on Lloyd's overall recovery process. Since he was forced to see and interact with Harumi again, even if only a digital recreation, she's now fresh in his mind again, along with the fear of being betrayed again, which is when we get to Season 13. In this season, the ninja meet another princess, Princess Vanya of the Kingdom of Shintaro. Vanya greets the ninja in a similar way as to how Harumi greeted them, and just as Harumi latched onto Lloyd, Vanya latched onto Cole. Lloyd, who's probably getting some flashbacks to Season 8, is very suspicious of Vanya and tries to warn Cole about her.
All princesses? That seems a little bit judgy. Wait a second. Is this because of Harumi? No, not at all.
Though of course this is just Lloyd being paranoid, as Vanya is nothing like Harumi and helps the ninja take down the king. After realizing he's wrong, Lloyd apologizes to her, and I think this is what finally lets him move on from what happened. The island kind of acts as an epilogue to Lloyd's story, just a nice little bow on top to fully tie everything up. The ninja meet Twitchy Tim, who, like Lloyd, has been through a traumatic event and is in a low spot. At one point, Lloyd tells him that yes, you will be knocked down, but you just gotta keep getting up and keep trying to push through, which is a really nice way to cap off Lloyd's journey throughout the last 3 seasons. I don't have much to say about Season 14, it doesn't really contribute anything to Lloyd's recovery arc, and just in general he doesn't do much in it. But I do want to mention that I love how he's portrayed in this season in just the 11-minute era overall. Like I said, Lloyd is mentally still a young teen, and in these seasons we see the more childish side of him. It isn't like Jay where it's annoying and takes over his character. With Lloyd, it's just small bits a few times a season. It adds a lot of charm to his character and is the side of him we never usually see, since typically this show is more serious.
Don't worry, I'll bake us some muffins.
Yes!
A farewell to arms, you might say.
Great! Well, thanks for nothing. Enjoy your pizza.
Wow, I have been really positive in this video. It's probably the most positive I've been in a while. Well, it ends now. Back to complaining. After Nia's sacrifice at the end of last season, Lloyd has given up being a ninja and is now working a mundane job as a window cleaner. And now, I like this, but I'm also not sure just how in character it is for Lloyd to give up and quit so quickly. He says it's because he feels responsible for the team and anything that happens to them is his fault because he's meant to be the leader, which is technically true. I mean, the leader part. He is technically the leader. But that hasn't been emphasized at all during the 11-minute era, and if anything, they've gone out of their way to say that the team doesn't have a leader, and that they're all equals. So now all of a sudden, going back on that and leading it back into the idea of Lloyd being the leader, doesn't feel great. Luckily, it doesn't matter whatsoever, because this plot is completely dropped after episode 1. Next thing they got for Lloyd is that he hates this new group of ninja who are funded by the government and specifically made to be replacements for them. Which does make sense considering they've been out of commission for a year and do have a bit of a habit of causing quite a bit of damage to the city. Nevertheless, Lloyd still doesn't like them because they're being replaced. Which, okay, this could be interesting. Let's see where they take it. Oh, this plotline is also completely dropped after the first 3 episodes. Well, okay, then surely they've got something for him to do. No, surely not. They wouldn't. There's no way. Even if you did somehow bring her back, you shouldn't, because what they did to you was like that. Worst idea ever, right? Obviously, this is the worst decision they could have possibly made. But I do have to say that her introduction scene was done so well. It's amazing, absolutely perfect, no notes, well done. It's so good that I actually remember my first reaction to this scene, which is a rarity when it comes to classic Ninjago. Also remember, this season was split into 2 parts, episodes 1 through 12 and then 13 through 18. And this reveal happened at the end of episode 12. So we were all sitting on the scene for like 6 months waiting to find out what they were going to do with Harumi. And that's all the positive stuff I gotta say. Time to rip this dumpster fire apart. It actually doesn't start off all that awful, except for the fact that now Harumi is mad at Lloyd for letting her die in that building. Like, what Girl, he was on the other side of town. I don't even know how he was able to see you, let alone get there in time to save you. She's also been really sarcastic during these first few episodes, which, I mean, I'm not really sure how in or out of character that is, but it does still feel a bit off. But then we get to her backstory. We get to learn how the heck she survived. She didn't. She did die, but then I guess the Overlord grabbed her before she fully transitioned into the departed realm and brought her back to life under the condition that she would serve him. So she does. She frees the Overlord, the literal embodiment of darkness. This goes against everything she was trying to do in the first place. She was loyal to Garmadon and wanted to resurrect him because she believed under his rule Ninjago would be a better and safer place. In her mind, while she knew she was doing bad things, it would all be worth it because in the end her actions would make life better for people like her, for kids like her. With the Overlord though, there isn't any reason why someone could argue he's in the right. All he wants is darkness and destruction. And it's not like Harumi didn't know who she was helping. She immediately recognizes him the moment she sees his silhouette, which obviously means that she's familiar with who he is, so you can't argue that she didn't know what she was doing. There were so many ways you could do this and make it make sense. Have Harumi just not know that she was serving the Overlord. Or my favorite, have her be against helping him, but is threatened with the consequences of going back to being dead if she doesn't oblige. That could also be a great way to lead into a redemption arc for her, which the season clearly wanted to do but failed horribly at. Or there's also the boring she's been brainwashed angle you could go at, which isn't the most interesting, but at least it would make sense. As frustrating as how and why Harumi's here, believe it or not, it isn't the worst thing they do this season.
You should have destroyed him when you had the chance, but I see now that you still have feelings for him.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I think I misheard you. Could you please say that again?
But I see now that you still have feelings for him.
Did the writers even watch the Oni trilogy? Because if I'm remembering correctly, the entire point of Rumi's character, the entire reason why she did what she did in the first place, is because she hated Lloyd and never had feelings for him. That is literally the point of her existence, is to string Lloyd along and make him fall for her, only to turn around and stab him in the back. That was her plan. The Harumi Lloyd fell in love with was fake, a mask. Everything she said and did was a lie. She took pleasure in watching him be tortured, and now you're saying that she did actually have feelings for him the entire time. Okay, so let's just pretend for a moment that Harumi did legitimately fall in love with Lloyd back in Season 8. Obviously, she did not let those emotions show. She buried them deep down and told herself they didn't exist. So what changed? What changed between Seasons 9 and 15 that made Harumi decide to let herself care about Lloyd? Maybe if he did something like save her life at some point, that could be something that would make her reconsider things. But as it is, even if she did love him this entire time, which she didn't, I don't understand why she would all of a sudden let herself feel those emotions when she was clearly burying them before. And then there's Lloyd. After everything Harumi put him through, ultimately he chooses to fully forgive her. Excuse me, Lloyd, are you okay? Yes, she turned on the Overlord at the last second, but that does not excuse her of everything she has done, of all of the people she has hurt and killed. This redemption does not work in the slightest because just because it turns out that the Overlord was the one who created the Great Devourer in the first place, that does not erase the fact that the ninjas still failed to stop it years later. Also, why are you getting so angry at this one specific thing? You know that the Overlord is evil and has done terrible things and killed who knows how many. You are fully aware of this, but apparently don't give a crap until it's directly about you. And see, I think this is where taking the blackmail approach would be really good. Because if Harumi had been against the Overlord this entire time, and was only serving him under the threat of being killed, then that would give her a proper motivation to want to do good. That would give her a reason to turn on the Overlord and help the ninja. I'm not saying she would forgive the ninja, but you could have it be where she makes a truce with the ninja and betrays the Overlord, which would result in her being killed by the Overlord. But at least this way, she would die doing something good. This one action wouldn't completely make up for everything she did in her life, but at least she would be able to go out as a hero. I think if they wanted to do a redemption, that's how it should have been done, or something similar to that. Just the biggest thing is that she just should not have been fully redeemed and fully forgiven. In fact, she doesn't even get punished for anything. She gets off completely scotch-free. Doesn't even get sent to jail. You know, I think that's enough about Harumi. Isn't this video meant to be about Lloyd? So of course there's all the Lloyd going back and completely forgiving Harumi and then possibly starting to date for real this time. But as well, just over halfway through the season, Garmadon makes a return, which luckily they actually do him pretty decently, so I don't have to rant about him. It's Lloyd that sucks here. So Lloyd hates Garmadon, which makes sense after the Oni trilogy, but it goes from hating him because of what he did and believing that he specifically isn't capable of change to just straight up hating on Oni in general. Which, again, did they even watch seasons 8 and 9? Remember Mistake? If it wasn't for her, good chance the ninja wouldn't have been able to finally defeat the Sons of Garmadon. She helped Lloyd out a ton, she sacrificed herself for them, and she was a full-blooded Oni. And now, here Lloyd is, going on rants about how Oni are incapable of being good and are pure evil. This is just straight up character assassination. Not only does it make zero sense for him to be acting this way based off of his previous relationships he's had with Oni, but even if you take Mistake out of the picture and she never existed, Lloyd being this mean and hateful towards an entire race is completely out of character. It would be one thing if he was saying that Garmadon was pure evil and couldn't be good, but he's just using the word Oni. He's talking about all Oni here, not just his father. And even then, I still think that Lloyd having zero faith in Garmadon is out of character. Lloyd is the type of person who would see even the slightest hint of good in someone and try and pull it out. And then in season 10, he saw Garmadon helping them out with the tornado creation, and that should have been enough to show that there is still some humanity left in him. I do not understand why he's being so hateful this season. It's terrible. And then there's the subplot of him tapping into his own Oni powers, which the idea of that is great. That's fantastic. But oh, it might be one of the worst things in the entire show. So at the very end of the season, Lloyd finally unlocks his Oni powers, gets a few really good hits in on the Overlord, before seeing his reflection and shoving that side of him back down. This is so bad on so many levels. For one, what was the point of all that build-up if this was the payoff? Why would you spend so much time on this for it to only get like 20 seconds of screen time? As well, why in the world are you proving Lloyd's terrible ideology right? Lloyd hates Garmadon and doesn't think he can change because he's an Oni and he's afraid of his own Oni powers because of that. But he's clearly in the wrong, as it's clear that Garmadon has changed, so the obvious resolution is for Lloyd to realize his mistake, face his fear of tapping into his Oni side, and use them to defeat the Overlord. Instead, what we got was Lloyd being proven correct on his objectively wrong point of view, and the lesson being said here is to never second guess yourself, don't give people second chances, don't let your emotions out and keep them buried down, and do not face your fears. Who thought this was a good idea? Literally, Lloyd and Garmadon's last words to each other are them still fighting. Nothing changed, nothing has progressed. No. Things have regressed. There is more I could say about the season, but I really don't want to. I'm kind of tired of ranting about the season. I think this is like the third time I've complained specifically about Lloyd. I don't particularly want to end this video on a negative note, but I have decided to split this analysis into two parts. I did that originally because I realized just how Harumi heavy this video's been, so if I covered Dragon's Rising here as well, there would be a pretty big disconnect jumping from the original show, where Lloyd pretty much had one big arc throughout seasons 8 through 15, to then talking about completely unrelated things in DR. As well, after I wrote that Crystallized section, this video has gone pretty long, and if I have any chance of getting this out by the 14th, then I have to split it into two. So yeah, what do you guys think about Lloyd in the later half of Classic Ninjago, and just in general? And I'll see you next time, where we'll cover the first 3 seasons of Dragon's Rising. So with that, really appreciate it if you took 2 seconds to like and subscribe. Happy New Year and happy 15th anniversary Ninjago. Bye! Okay then, Okay then, serious. We all know how the season ends. Gomdon's We all know how the season ends. Gomdon's during the rest of the journey to the ice powers. During and in these seasons we see more of the child. Like I said, Lloyd is mentally still a young teen. Like I said, Lloyd is mentally still a young teen, and in these seasons we see the more childish. So the obvious resolution is for Lloyd to release his mis. So the obvious resolution. Oh my. So the obvious resolution is for Lloyd to release. Okay, come on. You got this. Come on. So the obvious resolution is for Lloyd to realize his mistake, face his fear of tapping into his Oni side, and use them to defeat the Overlord. There we go. Jeez, was that so hard?